Good evening once again, everybody. Hell's Unicorn here again. About all this debt ceiling nonsense that's been going on for a long time, I just want to state for everybody's general information before I dive into this issue that I support the Ron Paul outlook on this whole matter, which is don't raise the debt ceiling at all. We don't have time for compromise, let alone any room for compromise. And we should simply freeze the budget and use that to chip away at our looming deficit problems. It's not the ideal solution. The ideal solution would be to start closing down federal agencies that are doing nothing but performing redundant functions that were originally reserved to the states. But in a strange way, I think I've actually just invited the idea of compromise. And indeed, the thing is compromise what? What are we compromising? How much are we supposed to compromise? So on and so forth. What is the net benefit of compromising between one stance and another when one of the stances takes a very clear and decisive stance of we will not raise the debt ceiling in the name of digging ourselves into an even bigger hole financially and putting our children further in debt. This isn't about you or me or anybody else in their 20s or 30s anymore. This is about people that were just born or have yet to be born. That's where we are right now. So I've been glued to moxnews.com, formerly C-SPAN Junkie, for the better part of the day, and I've been watching all of the events on Capitol Hill unfolding. And I want to clue everybody in here on a little something that I've taken note of in politics, in addition to the fact that there's no logic in it. And clearly there's less than no logic going on right now. Politicians like to employ a little tactic. I like to refer to it as the truthful lie. What this is both sides, I'm not letting the Republicans out on this. This is their responsibility too, but some of them are actually trying to fix this. Not all of them, not even most of them, but some of them are. Both political parties will use facts about each other to present a false picture of what's going on. Republicans and Democrats will accuse each other of pushing the debt higher. And both of them have. But they leave the impression that one side did while they did not, which is a lie. The Democrats say, we didn't cut $500 billion from Medicare. You guys are doing that. Republicans counter, au contraire, that's exactly what Obamacare did. And back and forth and back and forth. And in the meantime, all of the dumb people that voted in all these establishment candidates are going, hurrah, hurrah, root for the home team. It's a gladiating event. It's the gladiators. It's American football, live on TV. Pick your team, pick your poison. Throw reason out the door and just say, this is my team, and if I'm not supporting my team, I should get out of the stadium, which is actually a true statement. I left the stadium a long time ago. I'm not dealing with fictional party politics anymore, but sadly, most people are. The real debate here is not who pushed the debt as high as it is right now. It isn't who is responsible for the current situation that we have right now. The real debate, and the one that nobody, almost nobody is discussing, is what is the proper function of government? We have skipped over this question, or we have taken for granted the fact that in doing so we have accepted the idea that government is going to do something more than what the United States Constitution designates as its limited powers, and we're going to argue over how far outside of the realm of the Constitution we're going to go. The fact that we have a Department of Energy, a Department of Homeland Security, a Department of Education, so on and so forth, none of this is constitutionally mandated. It's power normally reserved to the states being usurped and taken over by the federal government. And I think we can all agree that the current education system in this country is an utter disaster, and allowing the federal government to encroach upon it has only made it worse. I can't tell you how many left-leaning public school teachers I've bumped into who bitch about No Child Left Behind. That's a federal encroachment of states' rights in regards to education. You're making my point for me in one particular area, and you're fighting with me in another area where the same rule applies. There is nothing whatsoever to suggest that the federal government can be more efficient at handling these particular functions. And we have tons of empirical evidence. We have statistical studies all over the place saying that as government grows, so too does the inefficiency in all of these respective areas. By contrast, you look at computer technology, you look at LASIK surgery, you look at other things that the government has not gotten its grubby hands on, you see advancement. You see a flourishing community of people interacting with each other and trading goods and services in these few areas in which the state is not completely encroached on our individual rights. You look at the airports as a prime example of what government does best. Molesting and raping people. That's what they do. And rob people, and more often than not, murder people. Be it through the traditional war route, in the case of both Bush and Obama, with their various pet projects in either Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, or a half dozen other countries that are not officially wars, or domestically. And I can point to many examples throughout the past several decades of people that have been killed internally by this government without due process. Waco, anybody? Ruby Ridge, so on and so forth. Just the tip of the iceberg. As stated previously, you either root for your team or you get out of the stadium. My advice to everybody watching this chicanery and shenanigans going on C-SPAN right now, turn off your television, get up out of your seat, and do something with yourself. Don't be like I am right now. The truth is, I plan on doing something else other than obsessing over what Washington, D.C. does. The greatest outcome of what's going on right now would be a government shutdown, in my opinion. That would be the greatest possible outcome. The government would be forced to prioritize what money it has and pay it out accordingly. And at the same time, we would be free for a matter of weeks, or maybe even a month, God willing, to live our lives without having Big Brother staring over our shoulder. You know what would not be paid for if we had a government shutdown and we were limited only to that $180-some billion that the government takes in every month? Homeland Security would have to roll itself back a little bit. All of these other useless, stupid departments that we shouldn't even have would have to temporarily cease and desist. Not to mention, how is the public school system going to get hurt by the Department of Education shutting down for a few weeks in the dead of summer, assuming that they do any good to begin with, which they don't? When you look to an inefficient institution for your livelihood, you are looking to a form of enslavement, because you are being put into a box and you are being limited in what you can do and how you can live. And on a somewhat related topic, I would like to actually single out the Democrats in this affair, because they have really revolted me throughout the course of today as I've been watching this nonsense going on the floor of the House of Representatives. Every time, over and over and over again, it's the same lies. Gonna gut Medicare, gonna gut Social Security, they're not gonna pay the troops, and so on and so forth. It's all rubbish. It's been debunked dozens of times here on YouTube. But the truth is that dumb people want dumb arguments so they can be dumb while voting. And that's what Democrats by and large do. And to be fair, equally dumb people put Boehner in charge of the Republican Party. Logic would dictate that if we're going to have an actual party with a different view of things, we could at least go the next step over and put somebody like Eric Cantor in power, somebody who actually voted against the bailouts. He's not perfect. I would argue he's not even that great, but he'd be a step up from this crybaby milquetoast that we currently have as Speaker of the House. Personally, I think Ron Paul should be Speaker of the House, but he's technically not in Congress anymore. He's still serving out his last term, but he's running for president now. That's who everybody should be looking at right now. Ron Paul. Not compromising and not demagoguing like the way Michelle Bachmann has been. A clear and consistent answer to a very simple but all too real problem. And I'll simply leave you with this. Arguing with me that people will get hurt if the government shuts down is a non sequitur. People get hurt by the government every single day. Need I refer to the nonsense going on in the Middle East right now? You are the ones hurting people with your votes and with your stupidity. And I don't want to hear about it anymore. I'm sick of it. I'm going to go watch a DVD. I'm going to do something to get my mind off of this because I have just had it. So until next time, with prudence to myself and benevolence to all of you, good evening.